And welcome to episode 66 of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I'm one of your two hosts for today, Sean Ani, editor-in-chief of the site, and I'm joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Hey, everybody.
How are you doing today, Todd?
I'm good.
You're having a busy week.
Yeah. I was saying, I wrote, as usual, on Wednesdays. The newsletter goes out this morning. So I was writing the newsletter, and I was like, I wish I could write this in the newsletter. I wish I could write this in like revealing ink so that later the stories that we're working on now appear. There's a lot of meetings we're taking, a lot of reviews we're working on.
Well, we can discuss yesterday. We can't discuss the meeting you had this morning.
That's right.
But we can discuss yesterday, which was the Droid event. And then tomorrow you've got a meeting we can't discuss.
Yeah.
There's lots of things going on this week, folks.
Yeah.
But the Droid event, how did the phones feel?
Really nice. I like that. So the last time I played with the Droids was the Motorola event where they unveiled the Pure and the Play. So it's been a while, and the new Moto G. So it's been a while since I've seen Motorola phones or played with them. That said, I really like these devices. I thought it's almost like Verizon sort of bolstered them. Well, I would say at least the Turbo. So it's got this aluminum frame. The big thing with the Turbo is it's like an unbreakable screen or very shatter resistant, let's say, because you could probably still break it if you try hard enough, and somebody certainly will. So, but it's got like aluminum.
Now, Todd, no one would do that.
Yeah, nobody will do it. No,
there will not be anyone on YouTube trying.
It's probably already on YouTube, broken.
Probably.
But what they did is, well, it was funny during the press conference. The president, I believe, of Motorola just sort of took the phone like this high, standing, so like shoulder height maybe. I dropped it face down on the stage, which is kind of daring. But it has I guess an aluminum border around it and then extra layers on the front and back that help keep it really protected. And when I was using it, I didn't notice that. So that's pretty sweet that you don't feel like you have some kind of bulky phone. Back in the day, some of the more rugged devices, you're just like, what the heck is this thing? Like you can hardly get, you feel like you're touching something above the display, but this didn't feel like that, which is nice. And they have the Snapdragon 810 processor in it. So, depending on how you look at it, an upgrade over the 808. Some people might argue with that, especially if they have the clock speed clocked down because of overheating problems and stuff like that. But I don't know. I didn't get that far deep in it. It's the same 21 megapixel camera, I believe, as before. You can customize it through Moto Maker. And then you had the new Max, which I forget off the top of my head again. Sorry, there's a lot of specs going through these days. But I think this is like Snapdragon 617, I think. If it's not that, that's because I'm working on the A9 review, so I'm sorry. And this has the 617. But anyway, it's a 6 series processor. 1080p display, so that's actually down from the Quad HD display on the Moto X Play. Both have expandable storage, which I really like. But they didn't have fingerprint readers, which is fine because I didn't really expect that. But no marshmallow, which is kind of not great. And I don't know when it's coming, but I feel like at this point, let's go marshmallow. Like let's not do lollipop anymore.
Yeah, that seemed really odd that those are not coming with marshmallow.
Yeah, and the Turbo has this huge Verizon logo right where sort of you would see the HTC logo on this, and it's the old logo, so it's like this long check mark as opposed to the new check mark they have, which is very brief. But Verizon, they love to throw their logo on everything.
Well, so. And we have a question from Sachin Bahal about that. Were those the Motorola Droids you were looking for? I knew that joke was coming at some point today. And what do you guys think about carrier branding on smartphones? I hate it.
Yeah, I hate it too. I don't mind so much all the time. Like a lot of people were making a big deal again about the HTC on the A9, like above the home. I don't mind that so much. But yeah, when you've got carrier branding all over, it's like, what the heck? Excuse me. So I don't like that. They were the Droids we were looking for. They were pretty much what we expected. I think I would have liked them better had they had, features like marshmallow and lollipop, especially, marshmallow and fingerprint readers, especially when you look at phones like the V10 from LG. What was that? I just heard some feedback. That already has the V10 on it. So
that was a phone.
Oh, you know what? My recording started looping on itself. In any case, the V10 to me, if you're going for phones, especially rugged, I like LG's V10 because it has sort of the nicer design above the G4. I kind of think it looks a little better than the new the Turbo 2, which is the rugged one from them, and it has the fingerprint reader. So when it does get marshmallow, you're sort of all set for that. That's my opinion.
Cool. No, I got to use the Droid Turbo for a little bit because I wanted to see how Verizon worked where I live. And so I haven't touched the Turbo 2. I really liked the Turbo. It felt great in the hand. It was just a gorgeous phone. So I'm interested to see how the Turbo 2 turned out. Would you say it's comparable to the Turbo? And as always, folks, this is not our review.
Yeah, I think so. I think in that sense, I mean, you sort of get, and I'm going back to the Max here too, but you get really good battery life with both. I think Turbo in the sense that it might be a little higher performing or better performing than the 808 and the Moto X Pure. You still get the Quad HD, but these days I feel like when the Turbo came out last year, correct me if I'm wrong, and it's been a year, but I felt like that was sort of like this flagship that was ahead of a lot of things. And this year, I'm not sure I feel the same way.
I would agree with you.
Because I remember when the Turbo came, I was like, oh, wow, this is a sweet phone. And this year, I'm like, wow, it's a sweet phone, but there are lots of sweet phones right now.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem. I mean, there are so many great phones on the market right now that it's kind of hard for anyone to just stand out above the crowd and go, hey, we're the top phone. I mean, when it comes to next year's March Mobile Madness that we do,
yeah,
I mean, that's going to be insane trying to figure out even what phones to put in the hat, for us to put them into the brackets. I mean, there have been so many great phones lately.
Yeah, and I think that's why Motorola spent a lot of time yesterday talking about the durable display, because they're like, okay, how do we stand out? How do we stand out against even our own phones that we're already selling, like the Moto X Pure? So
now, I did find one thing. I think one marketing misstep yesterday. So they show this video of phones falling and cracking, and then they showed the Droid Turbo 2 not doing that. They were dropping phones they sell.
Were they? I don't think I noticed that because I was sort of back in the room. I noticed, I think, what appeared to be a Sony and an iPhone.
Right. And Verizon sells those phones.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Verizon. Yeah, for sure.
So Verizon was saying, oh, these phones will break. By the way, we sell these.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at, and I'm sort of just playing devil's advocate, but HTC has their protection for the M9 and for the A9 and stuff, so that even if you do drop your phone and it does break, they'll replace it. Motorola's task, or their initiative here is that, it won't break anyway, so you don't have to worry about replacements and stuff. But I don't know.
I don't know. I'll be really interested to see how they do.
The one thing that bothered me, actually, and this sort of goes along with the carrier branding, they have so much bloatware, and it's incredible now. Really? A lot of the phones that I've been playing with recently, because we get the review units, and me specifically here on the East Coast, would be our international units. So they're usually free of carrier bloatware, and like the A9 and the Galaxy S6 and stuff like that. So I haven't seen this in a long time, but they were just loaded with like games, and Verizon has like 6 of its own apps pre-installed on there. I was like, whoa. So that I would like to see that stop.
I don't know why
everybody wants to see that stop.
Everyone wants to see that stop. I don't understand why the carriers think this is still okay.
I guess they're making money, like by promoting these games or something like that.
I mean, I can see, like the last T-Mobile phone I picked up, I think I had like 2 T-Mobile specific apps. Okay, I can live with that.
Right.
But pre-installing games, that's over the top. In my opinion.
Yeah. Just like, what the heck?
Well, like recently my parents got a Dell desktop, and I haven't played with a Windows machine in a couple of years, a brand new one. And I loaded it up, and I was like, oh, they're still coming with antivirus stuff.
Yeah. It's like use Windows Defender. They have all kinds of stuff now.
I know. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Well, the second topic we wanted to move on to today was a little bit Apple earnings, but more just talking about what's going on with them.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get to listen in on the earnings call, did you?
I didn't, but I was following along on what was said on Twitter, so I heard a bit of it.
Really interesting. They have adjusted in their numbers now that they do not expect consumers to be on a 2-year upgrade cycle with tablets, but a 3-year cycle.
Huh.
And that it was said very briefly, very quickly. I was like, there it is. I knew there had to be a reason there wasn't an Air 3 this year.
Interesting. And I think part of it, they have to blame syncing iPad sales. They were continuing to sync this quarter for everybody who didn't see the earnings history on something. But, again, iPad Pro, obviously the sales would not have been included. It's not even available yet. But, that's sort of the thought. Is that going to sell well? Is that going to help change their syncing sales? But Mac sales were up, which was interesting, or at least beat expectations, which was interesting. And iPhone sales was a record fourth quarter on top of a record third quarter back in July. So everything else looked pretty good.
Yeah, everything else looked good. The iPad sales were down. There's a lot of good stuff going on there, but there's one thing they always bring up that annoys me, because they bring up 30% of the new iPhone buyers last quarter were Android switchers.
Yeah,
that's great. How many people did you lose to Android?
Right.
Did you have a net churn or did you have a negative churn?
Right. But I mean, you have to wonder if it's record sales then, and it's hard to figure this out, but then, okay, so there's an increased number of iPhone buyers. If they're losing them, then that means that maybe there are people who are coming from nothing previously, which makes sense given the increased focus on emerging markets like China and South America and stuff.
Right. And also people that have been reluctant, like my father, I finally have got him moving over to a smartphone. So yeah, I mean, there has to be new people moving in. I think it was also interesting that China sales were up 99%.
Oh, there you go. I don't think I saw that.
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. They nearly doubled.
And I think I saw, but I could be wrong, something along the lines on Twitter of like 70% of iPhone owners still have something older than like the 5S or older. I thought it was interesting. Now, that's not 70%, obviously, people just bought iPhones, but people that still own the iPhone.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, if it works, it works. Roy and I, Roy Choi, our managing editor, and I were discussing that just yesterday. We still have iPad 2s, not Air 2s, but 2s in the office that we use every day for like our teleprompter. It still works. It's fine.
That's interesting. I don't know those were 2s.
Yeah, so if the product works, the product works.
Yeah.
So why not just keep using it? I mean, yes, folks like us, we want to always have, we want to have iOS 9, and the people that are back on, the 4S, whatever, they're not getting iOS 9. They probably don't care.
Yeah, they're on that phone for a reason.
Exactly.
It's a phone.
So one other topic I wanted to touch on briefly, and Sachin Bahala actually asked us a question about this. What do you guys think of the recently announced Samsung Galaxy View tablet? For those of you that don't know, the Galaxy View tablet was finally officially announced by Samsung this morning.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to spend any time with it yet, so we're just working off of what we've seen. I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. Like the handle, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
the hand.
I feel like, to me, it seems big. And when I think tablet, I think, like the way we use it, like, oh, maybe I get up in the morning, I check the news on it, and then I carry it in my backpack throughout the day in case I need it, like when I'm out and stuff like that, instead of a laptop. But this is big. Like, I don't even know if it would fit in a backpack. I'm looking at my backpack over here, like, I don't know. It's what, 18.4 inches or something?
Well, I use my iPad a lot in bed, reading a comic or whatever at night. I imagine me laying there with an 18.4 inch.
Hits you in the head.
It's
already bad enough when my 6 Plus hits me in the head when I drop it.
Yeah, exactly. So What was the cause of death? Well, apparently he was using his tablet in bed and it fell on his head.
Oh man, Darwin Award. But I mean, I think if we look at it, it could be, and I was just looking at the press images and stuff. Maybe for like kids in a dorm and they don't have a TV or not room for a TV, but you have to think like, we don't know what this costs yet. Samsung didn't say, but TVs, I have one right here that was like $250. I'm guessing this tablet's going to cost more, given that most tablets cost more than this TV.
Oh, I've got a small TV in my kitchen that I need to replace. And I went online to see how much, like a 24-inch television would cost or whatever now.
Yeah.
It's like $150.
Yeah. And then you just get a Roku. So like, I feel like even college kids might be like, why do I need this thing?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm all for trying new product categories, but I'm not quite sure who at Samsung went, you know what? If we had an 18.4-inch tablet.
Well, the funny thing is, it's like, oh man, they're starting to fill in that gap between all the display sizes. Because they they literally have like everything from the tiniest up to like 10.1, 12.2. They had that tablet. Now we're at 18.4. And then TVs and monitors. Looks like they have everything.
I think it was, what was it? 2 years ago, you got in late, or no, the Samsung announced their Sunday CES meeting after we'd already booked your flight.
Mm-hmm.
And you weren't arriving until after the event. So I went to the briefing and then I was going to do the video.
Right.
And they had so many different, I think they had 3 different sizes.
3.
And I'm there with our video guys trying to film this, and we had to keep reshooting because I kept saying the wrong size for this one. I'm like, good grief.
Yeah. It can get difficult. You're like,
we've gotten away from that.
Yeah. Well, no, we haven't now.
Oh,
so it appears that there's a built-in handle, though, which is interesting because that, like you're saying, new product category, I think that could be a distinguishing factor here because it's not. It seems to work like a tablet, but it's not, because a tablet. Do I have a tablet on my desk? Here's an iPad mini. Like a tablet, is meant to be like this. Like you're not carrying it. This is like a display with content.
Okay, somebody needs to come out with a boombox app for it.
Yeah.
So you can walk around with it up on your shoulder.
Seriously, that'd be pretty funny. So that's the thing. I mean, maybe it's just that like I gotta play with it, see what the heck it's about.
I don't know. I'm going to be really curious to see exactly what the heck this thing is and who it's meant for, and I don't know. Well, let's go ahead and jump on into questions. And this one, I'm going to jump to this one because this actually relates to a topic I was going to bring up anyway. From Sachin Hall, will any of you guys be getting the new Apple TV 4th generation 2015? Yes, I ordered one the other day. I wasn't expecting to order one quite that soon, but at home, where I have another Apple TV, guess what I've lost? And I can't find it anywhere.
Gadget ever. I'm sure you threw it away.
For those of you listening to the audio show, I'm holding up the infamous Apple TV remote
that Sean hates more than anything in the world.
Stupid remote.
I think you threw it out and then said, "Oh, gee, where did it go? I got to order a new one."
Yes, that's right. Because I've suddenly turned into Todd, who will find any excuse to order any gadget ever.
I know. It is true. I was finding myself. We're going to go on a tangent real quick, but I was finding myself yesterday because I really do like the A9 in a lot of regards. This doesn't have LTE though, so I was like, okay, maybe I'll buy my own. But then I'm like, oh, but it's kind of sluggish for. You'll see in my review, but here's a quick spoiler. It's kind of sluggish for loading games and stuff. It's very slow at that, but everything else is quick. And I added that 128 gigabyte micro SD card I've been telling you that I've been dying to buy, and it formats as an internal storage. So I have like 160 gigs or something of storage on this little thing. And the fingerprint reader is good, and it's got Marshmallow. So I was like, oh, I should buy that. Then I'm like, oh, but the Moto X Pure might be the better buy. It's got a quad HD display. But by the time by the time I customize it to what I really want and add the storage, because 16 gigs, even with the expandable, doesn't have Marshmallow yet. So it's not formatted as internal storage. I was like, well, then I need 32. So then it's $450. And then I'm like, well, wait, but now it's just kind of like, it's going to remind me too much of the Nexus 6. And I already own a Nexus 6. So why would I buy another one of those? So then I'm back on the A9. So these are the kind of thoughts I go through. Sorry for that tangent.
Well, now, here's my
That's
question.
why I'm always like, should I buy it? Should I not?
Well, here's my question, though. Why do you need another phone right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, you know what? Like I was saying, a lot of my Android devices are international, so they're not LTE. But it's not like I leave but I don't leave my house that often, so I can just use the Wi-Fi.
Todd, none of us leave our houses that often.
Right.
I'm currently carrying around my Nexus 6, which has my 3 UK SIM card in it. Because it's got a gorgeous screen. I love the screen on it. I'm just using it as a Wi-Fi device right now.
Yeah. That's how I usually am, I guess, with most of my devices.
Yeah, I mean, it won't work, on any cellular network until I get over to England next month.
But back to that Apple TV, I am. Oh, and this is the other reason that I'm bad at buying devices. I don't like waiting for things, so I want to be able to go and like buy this and then plug it in. I don't want to wait like till I think it's November 4th is now the earliest you can get the Apple TV if you order now. So I'll probably when it's in stores and I can drive up the block and have that in-store experience and buy it.
It's supposed to be in the Apple stores on Friday.
Yeah, so I might do that. But the Apple stores are in Manhattan, and Best Buy will have it on the 4th. I don't have to go in the city. We'll see.
Yeah, mine is currently preparing for shipment. So whatever that means.
It looks cool though. The only thing that my wife and I have been watching a lot of content from Amazon Instant Video, which is not on Apple TV, which is kind of a bummer. If only it had that, I'd be a little happier.
I wonder why it's not on there.
I don't know. Probably. I know, because it's on everything else, like Roku.
Yeah.
It's not on Android TV either.
You can't argue that it's because they want to, keep you on the Fire TV because it's on the Roku.
Yeah, it could be Apple. But I don't know why Apple would. It's not like they have.
But then there's an Amazon Instant Video app on iPads.
iPads, yeah, you're right.
Because you can download content there.
I don't know why. Maybe it'll come out now.
Who knows? Well, now that Amazon has declared they're no longer going to allow the sale of Apple TVs.
Yeah, maybe not then.
Who knows? Question from Davis Tapp. What do you think of the sales of the Surface Book, iPad Pro, and Samsung View will tell us about the future of the tablet convertible market? It seems like companies are just trying to force the market on the public when there might not be a demand. Davis, you are a man after my own heart.
I agree, except for I think the Surface Book is sort of like the laptop thing. iPad Pro, I sort of see as just not a laptop thing. I don't know, a big tablet. Like it's almost like where the Surface Book's trying to be a laptop, this is still hanging on to being a tablet. It seems like to me. And I haven't spent time with either one of them. I saw the Surface Book and touched it, but that was it. And then the Samsung View, what I gathered today is it's like not a work machine at all. Like Samsung doesn't seem to suggest that. I mean, you could because it's Android, but doesn't seem to be suggesting hook up a mouse and keyboard and get to work. It seems like that's just a totally different product category. But I think, Davis, you're onto something in the sense that every company now is like, crap, people aren't buying tablets like they were when they were hot. Maybe it's that they're not upgrading. Maybe it's every 3 years. And they're like, now what do we sell them? And that's why we're having like these, but it's not just a tablet. It's also a TV, or it's also a laptop, or it's also a huge iPad.
Well, I agree with this is something I've said many, many times over the years as we've worked here at TechnoBuffalo, and even when I worked at other tech sites. There are times where I go, did anyone ask the consumers if they wanted this market to exist?
Oh, it's insane. From all the meetings I sit in, there is a study for everything. And that's the argument they use, and rarely do you see this study. But they're like, we talk to consumers, and this is what they want. I mean, I've sat in meetings where phone company A 1 year is like, consumers don't want micro SD card slots. They don't care anymore. We're relying on the cloud. Next time they come back and say, consumers wanted micro SD card slots. That's why it's in this phone. And it goes back and forth. And for every topic you can think of, there's a consumer reason why they've done this. And often it makes no sense. I mean, they could say consumers want phones with handles on them, and everybody's like, what are they selling? Like,
Remember when they thought we all wanted 3D phones?
yeah, exactly. Like, what? Like, oh, in our internal research, we found this, and it never makes sense. So
No.
that's what I think. I think they're trying to force exactly what Davis is saying, like this market that doesn't exist, but they will argue exists, and it's what people want. Because of that, that's what's that saying, Steve Jobs? Like, you didn't know you wanted it until you had it, or something like that.
Yeah,
I
something
just
like
butchered that, but it was something along the lines of didn't know what you.
yeah. There are many times where I'm like, who thought this was a good idea?
Yeah, and I think they're after these things where, like, they want that next big hit, like touchscreens on phones where Apple crushed it, or big screens where Samsung crushed it with the first Note, phablets. Now I remember covering phones when 4.7 inches was a huge display, and now here we are with the A9 on 5 inches, and I'm like, oh, that's it's a relatively small and palm friendly display. So it's crazy how industries have shifted, and I think they're all trying to catch on something big here, one way or another.
I don't know. Very, very interesting. From Jeff K, what do you guys think of HTC jumping the price of the A9 to $500?
Oh, it's a bummer.
I think this is the bizarrest pricing thing I have ever seen.
Yeah, I have background information on it that I can't specifically discuss, but $399 was the hot spot, and I think it should have stayed there.
Yeah.
And I think that the A9 is a great option at that price. I'm not so sure at $500.
I don't know.
Which is hard because it's difficult to address in reviews. I'll say this for a lot of people who otherwise didn't see that price change coming. So it's surprising in a lot of ways. Even though they said it was temporary, I don't think anybody knew it was going to be so temporary. I mean, you really have to buy the phone before what, November 7th?
Yeah, I think so. I just don't think that was a good idea.
Yeah.
From Sachin Bahal, what do you guys think of of YouTube Red? Will it be a success or a flop? I don't know.
No, I'm not one who would pay for that yet, because I haven't really used like YouTube Music or whatever the what is it? I think it's just called YouTube Music. I don't remember, YouTube Play or I don't know. That comes with Google Play Music, where you can watch the music videos and download videos offline and all that stuff. So I haven't been using it anyway, even though it's sort of been around. And now, to pay a subscription fee to what so inherently and forever has been free is mind-boggling to me. I mean, yeah, you get rid of the ads, which is really convenient, but I can't even wrap my head around it, if that makes any sense. It's like if Google came to me tomorrow and said, like, Chrome is $2.99 a month now. I'd be like, but I've been using it free forever. Like, what?
My only fear is that they're going to start increasing the number of ads we see.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, wow, I really need to.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting through a minute every time I want to watch a video.
Yeah, I know that. I'm really concerned about that. But we'll see. I personally have no interest at this moment in subscribing to Red.
Yeah, you know what I'd be interested in seeing too is a report on when are consumers fed up with too many of these monthly bills. Like, I think all throughout time, probably we've all had monthly bills. I mean, you have the telephone bill, you have your gas, your electric, blah blah blah. But now it's like for every little aspect of your consumer life is like another payment. So it's like music and movies, but movies over here on Netflix are a little bit more each month, and then over here you get Amazon Prime because you got to pay a monthly delivery and blah blah, or annual. It's just like, whew, that's a lot of payments. And what's important, and when is that going to start affecting what people decide to pay for?
I recently consolidated how I did all that stuff. I got a new credit card, and I'm using it for nothing but my monthly subscriptions right now.
Oh, that's interesting.
And yeah, it's super interesting because, and then the thing is, then you get into a bargaining situation with yourself where you're like, yeah, but it's only $9.99 a month.
Yeah, that's just one night at the movies, you know.
Yeah, because like I recently subscribed to Marvel Unlimited.
The
You
comic
know,
book.
you can read as many Marvel comics as you want,
Mhm.
and yeah, it's $9.99 a month. And I'm like, ugh, but at the same time, if I go into a comic book store and buy 4 books, or 3 books, it's going to be that much. So, but then there's my Netflix and my Hulu, and
And you're like, wow, this is adding up. And I noticed because just for like review purposes and stuff we've talked about, like when a new Windows phone comes out, I'll do the Xbox Music, and then I'm like, wow, now I have Xbox Music and Google Play Music and Spotify and Apple Music. And it's like, why? I mean, obviously it's because we're reviewing products, and that's just to cover music. I mean, then you add in Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime's annual, like I said, and it's well worth it. That's like the one that I feel like if I had to give up everything, I'd still keep Prime.
yeah, there's no way I would ever get rid of Prime.
Mm.
Nope, no
Like
way
it's great
whatsoever.
for. I had to get doggy pads, yes, or wee wee pads. Got a
Mhm.
little baby at home, and it's like, what do I do? Drive to the pet store, which is probably like a half hour away, or Amazon Prime, and it'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Oh, I
Plus,
love
I get
Amazon.
the videos and all kinds of other stuff. Amazon.
Exactly. From Jeff K, what do you find more impressive, Samsung's third quarter surge in profit or Apple's record-breaking profits? I was the one that wrote up the Samsung story this morning,
Mhm.
and first, this is one of those situations where it'd be so easy to call me an Apple fanboy, but I am simply talking numbers. Samsung has had 7 consecutive quarters of down reports. It's great that they had an up quarter. It was not, and this is what I love is everything I read was about, well, the phones aren't doing what they used to do, and they're making this many more chips. Where are all the other departments of Samsung? Samsung makes everything.
I think they're billed as separate companies in some cases. Like I think Samsung Display is a separate company. Samsung.
That's why I had to wonder because there was no mention of like the televisions or the appliances or I mean, but like when we're at CES, when we go into the Samsung Mega booth, everything's under
It's
one.
everything, right?
Yeah, so it's hard to realize what falls where. Um, I think though Samsung's put itself in an interesting position, and I mentioned this briefly in the article. If their phone sales are down, that's fine because that means someone else is selling that many more phones, and they're making the chips that are in that phone.
Right, right.
So they've got you coming or going, and so yay. To me, the Samsung profits means a healthier mobile market than anything.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also think, in regards to specifically mobile for Samsung, they've done a really good job starting with the S6, moving forward, putting a focus on premium products. I don't know what I'll say, use the word margins, how much they're making off of each unit sold and how that compares to Apple. And I think that's where you start to get into who's more impressive in profits is how they're making their money. And I don't know what the breakdown for that is, but I think Apple to bounce back. I mean, Samsung to bounce back. Sure. Like, I think that's probably the more impressive of the two, coming from slumps back into the game. Because you've seen a lot of companies struggle with that. I mean, HTC, for example, has gone back and forth. BlackBerry, especially, and I'm excited to see that Android phone. I don't know if that's going to do much, but it's Sony. It seems like a dangerous market right now, where if you head into a slump, how the heck do you get out of it? And see Samsung bounce back, it's nice.
From Sachin Bahal, will there ever be a time where Apple doesn't have a successful quarter?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean it's happened before.
Yeah, it's history.
Yeah,
I don't know when.
I don't.
Ups and downs.
If I knew that sort of stuff, I'd actually play the stock market.
Well, one of the things is if you look at, and this is just going back to freshman economics, you look at a necessary good versus, say, like a luxury good. So if we were to go into a a down economy where people can't afford these iPhones, and Apple's spending billions of dollars making these new expensive iPhones, and then nobody buys them, that might be a troubling quarter for Apple.
Yeah. No, there's a
But when
lot of
people
things
have
that
money
could.
to spend and you're selling premium products and they're attractive, then you can do well. Yeah,
From Davis Tapp, another market-based question. Is there any evidence that carrier exclusives like the Droid line actually bring more people to the network? I know it worked for AT&T phone was the only quality smartphone. You know, that's something I've wondered a lot. I don't think there really is any phone out there other than the iPhone that could be a carrier exclusive and make somebody go, oh, well, I'm dropping my current carrier because I got to have this one phone.
Yeah, I think this was more back in the day and even early Android and around the time of iPhones, specifically Android and before that, where phone makers were making very, very different products. So you would have a feature phone that had like speakers on it, and thinking of an old Samsung phone that had it, or if people remember the Samsung phone on Verizon that was like a lipstick tube, and it was really thin like this and sort of flipped around. I think that's where you saw, and actually even the old Razors, where you saw people going between carriers because they wanted a specific phone. And I wouldn't be surprised. I saw a rumor yesterday. I don't remember who wrote it. It was on Twitter that maybe these are the last Droids on Verizon, the Droid branded phones. And I could see that making sense because Davis, I don't see people going from carrier to carrier for specific handsets anymore.
No, I think that's a thing of the past.
I think if we saw, Verizon and Sprint were the only carriers with the Galaxy S6 and Galaxy S6 Edge, and people were really after those phones, then you might have seen that. And there were times, I actually remember the first time that Samsung sold their flagship on all 4 carriers, and the head of communications was like, I never want to go through that again because it was such a pain in the butt. But now, of course, it's standard. They have their flagship on all 4 carriers every single year and multiple flagships. But back then, it was very different.
What I love is when a carrier has an exclusive color.
Yeah. For retailers, like the red or the blue phones in Best Buy sometimes.
Yeah, I'm going to change my buying habits for a color.
Right.
Yeah, it's not happening. From Mano Van Kumar, should I get Samsung Note 5 or wait for Samsung S7? And do you think Note 5 will get updates in coming years? If you mean, will there be a Note 6? Yes. That's a tough question. I mean, it depends on A, your needs at this moment, B, how you use the phone, and see just how much screen real estate you need.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a tough question. Always is the wait game. I mean, you can wait because then you'll have a year before worrying about the Galaxy S8, presuming we continue to go down that line, and you have a long time until the Note 6. Note 5 is really good though, and the S7, like you're saying, presumably will have a smaller display. So it's really a use case scenario.
Yeah, it's
both going to be great phone. I mean, Note 5 is a great phone, and it will continue to be a great phone.
Yeah, I agree. It's very much use case based, though, for sure. From Jonas Gameo, how does the Droid Turbo shatterproof screen feel? Since you've actually had the opportunity to touch it.
Yeah, so I played with it yesterday, and the thing, keep in mind that when we're playing with the phones, it's like, I think, 20 minutes with the device, and that's crowded and people want it, and then you got to go get the Max also and film that. But to me, it felt like a regular old display, which I was saying earlier in the call seems pretty awesome, given that it's resistant to shattering. I don't want to say shatterproof, or maybe it's shatterproof, but I think it can still be damaged.
Oh, somebody on YouTube will find out.
Yeah. You shoot it with a shotgun. I'm sure it'll do something.
Yeah,
somebody will.
One of those gun guys will for sure take it out. From Sachin Bahal, off topic, do you guys collect anything besides gadgets, i.e. Funko, Pop vinyl figures, coin collections, special comic book covers, etc.? I collect way too much stuff.
I don't think I really collect anything. I have hobbies, like fishing.
So you collect fish.
Yeah, no, but I don't really catch fish. That's the problem.
I collect stuff related to Disney's Haunted Mansion. I selectively collect comic book statues. I selectively collect still some comic books. Yeah, collecting has always been a problem for me. I need to seek therapy for that someday. From George Day, what can YouTube do to make YouTube Red something I actually want? That's an excellent question.
Well, that's a scary thing too. That's what we were just saying. Maybe they throw ads all over the free stuff, worse than now. And you're like, oh, I can't deal with this. Now I gotta pay for YouTube Red, but not because you actually want to, but because that's where stuff is. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Last question for the day comes from Adam McDonald. Do you think services like Fi will take off?
I think eventually they'll be a good option. I don't think they're going to be. I mean, consider it runs on T-Mobile and Sprint's networks, so I don't think Google's goal is to say, we're replacing them because they need them, unless the fiber rollout eventually gives them a backbone to work off of. But then they have to get all the spectrum too. I don't know. I think it's going to be more of like an option rather than this mass appeal thing.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Plus, Project Fi, or not Project Fi, I keep mixing them up. Fiber, not Fi, is the reason that the Royals Mets game last night went out, I think, right? It's pretty crazy.
No, I read up on that.
So was a rumor? I'm just talking about headlines I saw this morning, so I apologize.
No, the electricity to the TV truck failed, and then both generators failed. At the exact same time, Google Fiber went out, but it was not connected to what was happening at the stadium.
Oh, wow. Okay. That sounds like hacking or something.
I don't know. Quick to completely off topic rant. I love Kansas City. It's one of my favorite cities ever.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you stay in a Kansas City hotel, as I do every time before I fly out, there's a $1.50 tax, which used to state explicitly what it's for, and now they've kind of disguised it. But you stay in a Kansas City hotel, you get charged a $1.50 tax. That's the stadium tax.
Oh, okay.
That's how they decided to pay off Arrowhead Stadium and the Royal Stadium, is by, if you come to town to visit, guess what? You're helping with our stadiums.
Those stadiums are tough. That's how they sometimes don't get built, because nobody wants to pay for it.
Well, at least it wasn't like St. Louis that wanted the entire state to pay for their new Rams stadium.
Yep.
Oh, that was a crazy idea. Anyway, that was going to bring this episode of the TechnoBuffalo Show to a close. As always, we thank you for joining us. You can find us on the iTunes store by searching for the TechnoBuffalo Show, where we do appreciate if you rate and review us. That does help out the show. You can also find us on Pocket Casts. You can subscribe via RSS feed. We will be adding the show to Google Play. We tried doing it this morning, and it was acting a little crazy, but we will be adding the show there. And as always, you can find us on the Stitcher app, which means you can listen to us anytime, anywhere there are podcasts, you can find the TechnoBuffalo Show. Until next time, I'm Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of TechnoBuffalo. I've been joined by Deputy Managing Editor Todd Hazelton.
Bye, everybody.
Till next week, take it easy, everyone. Bye-bye.